Belmont, Nevada, 45 miles northeast of Tonopah. We came up here to take a tour of the Belmont Courthouse. Built in 1876, this courthouse was the seat of Nye County until 1905. In 1974, it was deeded to the Nevada Park System. This building is locked up. Tours are by appointment only, and you should consult the Park Service website to try to arrange one.
Okay, sign in. And I don't have to tell you, please don't mark on the walls, even though everybody and his brother had up until the 1970s. Starting here, this was the sheriff's office in here. When I was a boy, and at that time the courthouse was wide open, there were no windows, no doors, anything of this sort. The local rancher down here was using this to store his hay, and this room to store his hay, and he just backed his pickup truck to the window, throw his baled hay in here, stack it up, and then as he needed it, he took it out. The windows, the different things, it was wide open, it was just being used. Anytime somebody wanted something, they come up here and got it. That's where the doors that are missing, the windows, the different things were just taken. The baseboards, we still have a few baseboards around, so we know what they look like, but the baseboards were removed. In here, one of the interesting ones is this Corporal John Alls, up here, Corporal John Alls, 92543, probably was a young enlisted man from out at the old Tonopah Army Air Base. It's probably who that was. We've never been able to tie it together. There are a few other names in here that some you'll recognize, some you don't. There's Don Byington from the Gardnerville area. That was one of the things I'm sure the janitor had. Okay, this was the assessor's office.
The really neat thing about this courthouse is that since this property was abandoned, everybody that passed through the area had to come in here and leave some kind of graffiti on the wall indicating what they were thinking, that they were here, whatever. We're not talking about the kind of mindless gang graffiti that we see scribbled on our walls today that lead to nothing but violence. These people all had a message to give. A lot of them were soldiers from World War II being ready to be shipped out, and they left messages on these walls for their sweethearts. The nonprofit agency working with the Park Service is hoping to raise enough money to try to preserve these scribbled anecdotes. They intend to preserve those that have not been damaged with plexiglass or some other viewing material so that they can be preserved for all time. Our original plans was to try to bring some equipment in, millimeters, whatever, to see if we couldn't raise some EMF activity in here. But once I found out that the tours were by appointment only, I wasn't really certain how the docents would handle it. One thing is for certain, if you were able to get in here and do an investigation, any EMF fields that you were to pick up would have to be something, because there is no power in this building. In fact, there's no wiring in the building. Because there's no electricity in the town of Belmont, there never has been. The only electrical sources are by wind, solar, and generator. These people lead what could be called a true prepper lifestyle.
From Ely. When I did my student teaching, he was a principal in Billinghurst Middle School. This is the section he basically lived in, these three rooms. And he could come right on through. Again, this was a vault. It's on for the treasurer's office was in there. This was the recorder in the clerk's office. He slept here, he handled all his business here and everything else. He boarded in town, so he wasn't cooking in here at that time, but he basically lived in here to save a few bucks. The county commissioner's been on him for some time to come up with audit his books and things, and he brought him some papers and stuff, but never enough. The new county really got his friends, brought him up, and when his friends got up here, said, "What can we do for you?" And he'd been ill for some time. "What can we do for you?" And they said, "Well, you know, there's not much you can do. I borrowed some money from the county. I haven't been feeling well. I'm going to take this way out." And he had taken rat poison, not a pleasant way to die, I don't think, and he died before the day was over. Turned out that he had borrowed a little money from the county, and that's really what it was, just a loan from the county. And he had invested in the mine. One thing they didn't do is they didn't put a stove on this end, although there's a chimney that comes up in here somewhere. They didn't put a stove there, so that, again, that probably was why the bench would have been there. They did have a stove on this end. This room over here was the jury room, or it was used as a prisoner holding room, depending what the... one of the interesting things in here, as far as graffiti is concerned, is this little poem here. When you and I, our love must part, may it cause pain in both our hearts. I to some foreign land will go, sleep cold in death as others do. All this and more I have to say, but night calls and I must away. Within these lines you will a hidden question find. When may I sleep all night with you?
Now there's a basement here also, right?
No.
There's no basement?
There was never a basement in this one. There's a very large crawl space.
Where did Charles Manson leave his markings at? That's the one that's where, I mean, that's the one that you always see online.
Yeah, that's
you know, even if it's not true, it's a huge advertisement for you because it's posted online.
Every time he gives up for probation, Las Vegas sends up a reporter to take another picture of it.
But that's fine because you gotta get your name out there somewhere.
I was just saying, what happened, Rose Walters was living here, and she was born out at Barley Creek, had lived in this area of Manhattan, all over this area, all of her life, really, except for a short stint in Chicago with her husband during the Second World War. The rest of the time, she always lived here. The time she was living in what's now the bed and breakfast, she was living in that house up there. She had come down, there had been a group of them that had just gone through here, no doors were on or windows or anything. They'd come in, gone through it. They were getting ready to camp down there by the creek. And she came down and told them no. It was at a later time that she was down in Bishop, her son lived down in Bishop, she was down there and visiting, and she picked up the paper and noticed that the Manson and some of his pictures were in there. She said, well, those are the people who were up at Belmont. I remember seeing them. And, you know, it was one of those cases where it tied in. Then at a later time, somebody noticed this.
There are many more fascinating inscriptions on the walls of this courthouse. What I have shown you in this video is just a few. If you would like to set up a tour, look on the web at the Nevada State Park System site for the Belmont Courthouse, or you can also look on the web for the Friends of the Belmont Courthouse, which is a nonprofit agency which is helping to rebuild this. What would be really nice is for someone to get in here and do a daytime investigation. I don't think the Park Service would let you stay in here overnight. But if you manage to do that and catch anything, drop me a line and let me know.
How much do you have to raise to redo? How much do you have to raise to redo this? To refurbish it?
The question is, how much do you have?
And how much we have to raise? We have to raise it all.
We're trying to do the weatherproofing first, so the roof is...
Okay, but I mean, what are you looking at ballpark? I mean, it's obviously over $1 million, right, to redo a place like this?
At least, I would say, just to get the exterior, the roof, the exterior, the windows and the doors, if you take them back to the correct historical period and do all of that, some of the floors and stuff like that, yeah, you're looking at somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million.